Hello, I'm Crayton. I am the founder. I moved. That's why I need a clicker. I'm the founder of #causeascene, which is just me being fucking mad and just like, screw you guys. I'm gonna say what I need to say and provide a space for people to say what they need to say and affected by what she said. Because to tell me at dinner that this is the only space that she could tell that story tells me that no matter the bullshit that I see on Twitter, what I'm doing matters, and what we do as a community matters. Because if we don't get there together, we don't get there. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, please do so, because we're learning every day. And my pronouns are she and her. This talk is the intro to the book that I'm writing, Not Asking Permission, Giving Notice, Redefining Capitalism Without White Supremacy. So as I've been traversing tech, been traversing Twitter, just black woman, 49, will be 50 in May, just walking out of the house like this every day. I recognize that unless we talk about white supremacy, that's at the root of everything that's in every economy of this world, we will not get anywhere. And so I'm ready to have these real conversations. So my goal is to help business leaders disrupt, innovate, and gain competitive advantage within the global marketplace while identifying and minimizing harm. We are causing harm. Software developers, cis white men, tech bros, assholes, whatever you want to call them, do not have the perspective to create products and services that do not harm me. And I'm no longer taking it anymore. We're no longer taking it anymore. And this is why they're freaking out, because for the first time, as long as I have a Twitter app and the internet, you can't shut me the fuck up. I'm not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. And they're gonna have to change, because lack of inclusion is a risk management issue. And we're causing harm. So I am a historian, I am a researcher, I am an educator, so I believe everybody's freaking out, but we've been here before. You're only freaking out because you don't know your history. And white people, you don't know your history. You're the most ignorant of your history by design, because had you been told what your history, you wouldn't have intentionally or unintentionally participated in this racist ass system. So it was in your best interest not to tell you that our economies were based on, in every economy, every economy now was based on the justification of slavery. Everybody has benefited from the fact that my ancestors were percentages of people and were enslaved. They were owned by others. And it pisses me off when I go to other countries and they're like, no, the US. Who the hell do you think this came from? There were Native Americans and Mexicans in the US before white folks came from England, from Spain, from France, from Portugal. This is your shit. And until we deal with this, we're never going to change. And Adam Smith is considered the father of economics. He talked about this in 1776, how we needed to, all of ourselves and nothing of others for others seems to be in the very age of the world to have been a vow at maximum of the masters of mankind. We see it. This is the 1%. This is the percentage of the 1%. This was when the country was deciding on how it wanted to grow and structure itself, and the policies, procedures, and processes that it was going to put in place that were going to benefit the larger world. And James Adams in their Constitutional Convention says the major concern of the society has been to protect the minority of the opulent against the majority. This is the problem we have now. This is what Brax is about. This is what the calling people just names who the caravan of criminals. The shooting black people on sight and saying, oh, that was, oops, they ran. But I can get a kid who goes and shoots up a fucking school and they get arrested without incident. How the hell does that happen? The system has been set up to protect the few at the expense of the majority. And this is what you see with the Kavanaugh hearings. This is what you see with the Trump election. And I'm sorry, people, there was not going to be a blue wave in the United States. If there is, I would be so freaking surprised because white people aren't in enough pain yet. I need you to be really in pain for you to move. For the first time, many of you with the Trump election was the first time you ever said, well, acknowledged that there's racism. Before that, it was, oh, we have a black president in the United States. We're post-racial. Kim, why are you being so sensitive? We dealt with racism in the 60s. So it took the day after Trump being elected, it was like, for a lot of white people, were like, what the hell is going on? And then for Kavanaugh to be nominated and accepted, for white women to finally be like screaming and hollering, and I'm sorry, well, I'm really not sorry, because black women don't give a fuck. You didn't scream and holler when we were getting raped. You didn't scream and holler when we were getting beat. You didn't scream and holler. It's only when it becomes something that's important to you that you give a shit about it, and we're done. I saw a tweeted yesterday, Caitlyn Jenner, you didn't give a shit about transgender rights until Trump specifically said that he's trying to get rid of them. Now it affects her. But what about her other transgender sisters? She has a privilege that other people didn't have. And now she's threatened by that. And I say this all the time. Privilege and white supremacy and racism is a system. It's a parasite. And for the first time, it's eating on its host, which are white people. It's the first time you're ever feeling the pain that everybody else has been feeling when it comes to white supremacy and privilege and racism. Because like any parasite, at some point it turns on its host. And again, I want to say this, you're not as liberal as you think you are. And you're in my fucking way. White liberals are the biggest barrier to any damn work I'm trying to do. Because you want to argue about shit, you want to get defensive about shit, you want me to prove my experience. I'm not doing that for you. What you're going to do is get steamrolled and get this fuck knocked out of you. That's what it's. I have not hit you. White women's tears, don't you damn cry. Because what you're doing is going back to HR. Oh, this black woman or this person was defensive and angry and aggressive. That goes in our HR records. We're not going to get hired. We're not going to get promoted because you were too immature to deal with your own fucking emotions. Step from the beginning. I came across Dr. Ibram Kendi. I listened to the Seeing White series for Seen on Radio. And every one of you white people in this audience need to listen to that series. I cannot, it's 14 episodes. I've been trying to finish this series for months now. Because I can't, it's not for me, I can't watch it during the commute. I have to be focused because I take notes and I also pull quotes from the show, from the episodes, and post them on Twitter so that my community understands what this stuff is. But Ibram Kendi is a professor in the United States, and he wrote this book, Stamped from the Beginning. And it just like the series Seeing White, he explains, because this is a misnomer. You think that racism came first, and then racist beliefs. The economics to justify slavery as a weapon, as a tool for free labor came first. Then you use the Bible, policies, procedures, and the law and from there came the racist beliefs. So it gets me when people say capitalism something's wrong with capitalism. Capitalism is just a theory. And this is why I like to talk about definitions. Capitalism is a theory. It's how we've implemented capitalism that is the problem. But there are organizations. I love the fact that the reason I say optimistic is because we're in tech. Tech touches everything, and we have the power to influence the lives of millions of people. Once tech figures this out about our self-driving cars, once we figure this out about how to deal with our codes of conduct and protect the people who are doing those things, once we figure this out, medicine's going to have to change. Law's going to have to change. All these other industries that we are dealing with are going to have to change because there are going to be people like, well, hell, tech is doing it, and I see a part of this because part of our business in tech, and they're doing it a different way. But the racist ideas came after the economics. And time again, people think the racist ideas are not, racist ideas have not been cooked up from the boiling pot of ignorance and hate. This is another reason we're failing. You keep, wherever the alt-right is, in whatever place you are, we keep saying how ignorant they are. They don't know any better. Yes, fuck they do. Because while we've been sitting up there playing the PC card, being civil and all that, they have been organizing. They have a script. If you've not been on Twitter and see the people I engage with, every fucking one of them says the same thing over and over again. They have a script. We don't have a script. So we're losing this thing right now. And I want to speak to civility right now. Fuck civility. Civility is it's optional for white people and is the expected behavior of black people or people of color. And I'm going to give you some examples of this. So I have 5, 6 black people in the room. I don't know if it's a cultural thing we're going to see. What are black kids doing when they're in the restaurant with their parents? What are white kids doing in the restaurant? Running around acting a fucking fool, right? Exactly. Let's say we're walking down the street. How often as a black person are you expected to step out of the way? Because they could just be, they're going to take up a whole damn talking to their friends and not move. White people are taught that they belong in the space and we have to ask permission. So, let me tell you what I do. Fuck your civility. If I'm walking down the street, and I've done it here, I ran into an old lady. I don't give a fuck. So if I'm walking down the street, because I'm not going to intentionally knock your ass, but I'm no longer stepping aside anymore because I deserve this space. So if I'm walking and you got 5 grandkids and all this bullshit in my way and you don't tell them to move over, somebody getting run over because I'm going to keep walking. Think about when we're on the airplane, how we close ourselves up. Not anymore. I'm sitting like this. Your penis is not that big, sir. Close your fucking legs. You want this armrest? Okay, you want the front of this armrest or the back of this armrest? Because we're going to share this. Because I'm taking up space. I'm no longer making myself small so that white people can be comfortable. I need your ass to be as unfucking comfortable as possible so you can get off your lazy asses and get to fucking work. If one more white person comes to me and says, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you, I might pop you in your goddamn eye. What did you do to stop that from happening to me? Did you just stand by and watch it? Or did you actively participate in stopping what happened? I don't need your I'm sorry after the fact. And people who follow me know I can give a fuck about followers. If you're white and you're not willing to make yourself comfortable so that I can uncomfortable so that I can be comfortable, I have absolutely no use for you. Because at some point, you're gonna cause me pain. At some point, you're gonna throw me under the bus. At some point, it's gonna be you against me, and you're gonna take your side. And I need you to deal with the reality of that. Because we run from it. That's not who I am. Yes, the fuck it is who you are because that's how you were raised. You didn't attend it. You were raised in a system that told you you were better than me. There is so much anti-blackness in this world that even black people have anti-blackness. The paper bag test. We have people from other countries, Africa, who would think they're better than blacks in the U.S. We have people who the model minority, Asians and Indians, you can be anything but not be black. And I'm telling you this, and I hope this makes you uncomfortable, because I need you to change. We cannot, because your fellow peers are listening to my black ass. I need to tell you what to do so that you can go talk to them. Because they're in the way. And if you're not doing anything, you're complicit. Every time you see something and you don't act to stop it, you might as well have pulled the trigger yourselves. And I want you to sit with that. Their own racist ideas, because, okay, that's what we're talking about. These came from brilliant people. The people who came up with slavery and how you justify that, people, Indians and Asian Americans were, I don't say American, I apologize, because that's also arrogant. We act like there's no North, South, or Central America. I'm from the United States. That in itself is white supremacy, how we're American. But there are brilliant people who came up with this stuff. Brilliant people. And we need to face that and use the brilliance we have to counter that. So their own racist ideas usually did not dictate the decisions for most of the most powerful Americans when instituted. It was capitalism. So it was a thing of, and this is why and if I have not said this, by default, I distrust white people by default. It is your job to prove through consistent behavior that I can trust you with my life. Because this is what this is at this point. This is my life. This is not theory. This is practical living. I can walk out of here, and because of the color of my skin, if I say one thing that I'm justified in, some white woman could say, oh, she upset me, or a cop can come by, and that's the end of me. But this was about capitalism. So if it was about capitalism in that way, the optimist in me means, hey, we can fix this. We can change it. Racist ideas have done their job on us. We have a hard time recognizing that racial discrimination is the sole cause of racial disparities in this country and around the world at large. I'm going to give you an example. And this is why, if you follow me, I've really been all caps. This is what white supremacy looks like, because y'all don't know what the hell it looks like. It's not just Nazis and swastikas and KKK. That's the obvious shit. It's the policies and procedures and processes that are in place that gird everything that we do, that everything is rooted in. So I'm going to give you an example, because you always want to talk about how black kids, particularly black boys, are just lazy, they ain't good for nothing, right? So you have a court case in Detroit, Michigan, and Detroit has one of the worst public school systems in the country. The students sued the public school system and said they were not learning. A judge threw it out on this reason. Said he could not find precedent that said that the school system was required to teach literacy. What? It was only required to house them. So, by law in the states, you have to be in school until you're 16. So why the fuck am I here? Basically, this is the school to prison pipeline, because all your job is to house me, right? Now, how many of you white people your parents, or would you as a parent, would have accepted that for your children? I don't think any of you asses. So that's one thing. So I like to juxtapose. Then you have a policy in California. Can't remember the area right now. That is putting low-performing students not on academic probation, but legal probation. So on one end, you have a school system that's saying we are not required to teach you literacy. Yet, you have another one that's punishing you for not being literate. This is the shit that's been happening to us for centuries that you do not see. We're not lazy. We're fucking brilliant. Y'all forever stealing shit from us. Any swag white people got, y'all got from us. Y'all the corniest people. Good God Almighty. Jazz, hip-hop, blues, everything. You got from us, but you won't Let's talk about racism. What racism is. Racism is a system. It's not that bullshit definition you found in Webster's. That's just a cause. It does not talk about the effect. Racism is a system. So it's different. So because it's a system, black people cannot be racist. They may hate your white ass, but they can't be racist because they don't have the system to do anything about it. So this is the definition. So you want to talk about race. Excellent book. Simple ways to determine if something's about race. If I say it's fucking about race, it's about race. And for me, of everything I've learned about white supremacy, everything is about race. It's about race if it's disproportionately or different affect people of color. Or if it's a broader pattern that you see. It's about race. Why is this conversation about the economics of white supremacy important? As a technical community, we continue to view the world through the perspective and lens of whiteness, which equals white supremacy and anti-blackness. So you cannot create products and services, you cannot create culture fits that fit me because they're anti-black. And until we address that, we're going nowhere. Gaining this understanding helps to explain why current efforts of improving inclusion while minimizing harm just aren't working. They just aren't working. We must be willing to accept and deal with the truth that a better us we are working towards has never been an option. I'm supposed to be a slave, people. Think about that's what I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be a slave. We're trying to create a world and experience that was never supposed to happen. And that's going to take some work. And to do better, those who benefit from the economics of white supremacy must be willing to prioritize the needs and safety of the most vulnerable in our communities. In order that we can benefit all of us collectively, I need white people to get uncomfortable. I need you to be willing to lose your fucking jobs because you know like hell you can get one tomorrow. I need you to be willing to walk out. I need you to be able to stand up for those who are less vulnerable or more vulnerable than you. I am a black woman who grew up in the South, so I'm kind of at the bottom of the pole in the United States. But what I do know is that trans women, and particularly black trans women, are far more marginalized than me and are being targeted. So I'm lending my privilege to them. So if I can fucking lend my privilege to someone who's less vulnerable, who's more vulnerable than me, then you can lend yours to people who are less vulnerable, or more vulnerable than you. Going back to Adam Smith, consumption is the soul and purpose of all production, and the interests of the producer ought to be attended to only as far as it is necessary to promote the customer. This was 1776. So even then he was saying that the producers, you take in as much as it helps you to make a better product or service or experience for the consumer. We've lost that. I don't even think we fucking had it. I think it was an idea. What improves the circumstances of the greater part can never be regarded as an inconvenience to the whole. We have to stop thinking about silos and start thinking about systems. No society can surely flourish and be happy of which a far greater part of the members are poor and miserable. And that's what we're seeing now. That's the uprising now. Because for far too long, these individuals didn't have a voice. We now have a voice. And we're now screaming at the top of our lungs. We will not be raped. We will not be silenced. We will not be anything. And here's some resources. The Seeing White series that I told you about. You need to read White Fragility. Saving Capitalism is a marvelous documentary that's on Netflix by Robert Wright. And he talks about how our country in the United States, and I'm sure it happened here as well, It was after, the pivotal point came after the civil rights movement and the Vietnam War rallies, when corporations realized that the populace were no longer just buying their bullshit and we were pushing back. So they came up with a plan, which is the Power Memo. If you read that plan, you will see how today is what it is today. And this is why I implore you, please stop saying that these people are ignorant, that they're not organized. They have been planning this since the 70s. Requiem for a Dream is another wonderful, I found it on Amazon Prime. And that's it. And we're gonna take a short break, and then we're gonna do a circle. We can put the chairs in a circle, and we're gonna do how I always end. I like to again, I'm an educator. Have a master's in training and development. And what we're gonna do is debrief. We're gonna talk about what we've experienced here. So if we could take a break and put some chairs in a circle, that would be great. Thank you.